Welcome to your College Planning News from Ron Carruthers, CEO of CollegePlanningInc.com. Today, we're going to talk about college, financial aid, and financial aid, and the 5 greatest myths of exactly what you need to know if you've got a kid going to college in the next few years. First off, there's a ton of misinformation that goes on out there about exactly who gets money and who doesn't. So I'd like to walk you through the 5 greatest myths of who gets money and who doesn't. The number one myth about the whole process is that you make too much money to get any aid. I can't tell you how many times I've heard this one, but it happens all the time. We get parents telling us, oh, it doesn't matter, and it almost doesn't matter the amount of money that they make. You could be making $50,000, $25,000, $75,000, $100,000, $125,000, $150,000 a year or up, and people still will tell you you make too much money to get any aid. That is probably the biggest and most dangerous myth there is out there. The second, that comes very close to it, is the myth that you have to have a perfect straight-A student to get any money. In my own case, I was my high school's valedictorian, number 1 in the class of 419, going back 20 years ago. But the problem was, nobody explained to us how the system worked. And so even though we were lower middle class at the time, we were told the same as everybody else. A, you make too much money to qualify for any aid, which was not true, I found out later. And B, oh, well, you're a good student, so you'll just get aid automatically. So this works both directions. Just because you are a great student in today's competitive environment doesn't mean that you're automatically getting aid. And B, just because you're not a straight A student doesn't mean that you're not getting aid. I've got a ton of information on my website, www.collegeplanninginc.com. All one word. You can see the URL below that will give you more information on this subject. The third myth is that you have to be some sort of athlete, superhero, or musician, or some other talent to get any aid. And again, with Title IV rules being what they are, Title IX rules being what they are, that's simply not the case anymore either. In fact, being an athlete is no more a guarantee of getting any money than being a straight A student is. And a musician is the same thing. There's still a system that has to be followed that you must learn and implement well before your kid goes off to college. The fourth biggest myth is that if you have a minority, that's what it takes to qualify for aid. Now, I'll be granted, there's scholarships out there for all ethnic groups or interesting situations, whether someone's disabled, a cancer survivor from Latvia, or whatever else you can think of. But a lot of that makes up the minority, no pun intended, of the aid that's out there. Most of the money is still controlled by a government-mandated system that most parents have no clue about how it works or what to do about it. Finally, one of the biggest myths of all is that your high school or the college itself can help you, or your financial planner or your tax person. Let me tell you something. Most have no clue about the basics of how this works at the high school level or your tax person or financial advisor. In fact, in a lot of cases, their advice goes directly counter to what you need to be doing to get the most amount of financial aid possible. So be very careful about who you're getting help from. Now, of course, the colleges know the answers to all this, but the problem is they're not telling. They make their living and get to keep their endowments by having parents remain as ignorant as possible. So if you'd like a full explanation of how this works, including information about the free classes I teach, both online and over the internet and over telephone lines and in the local San Diego community here, about how to get thousands of dollars for college and how to pay for college without going broke, be sure to visit my website, www.collegeplanninginc.com, and look for the seminar agenda where we can teach you everything. This is Ron Carruthers with your 5 greatest myths, signing off.